Economic independence is basically the idea that at some point you will probably be interested to find a time in your life where you no longer have to say, how much work can I get? Whether it's a regular job from 9 to 5, or whether you have to have multiple gigs that you do, or have a side hustle, or whatever it may be, but something that takes your time and that you exchange to make money. Only rich people become investors, and all those kind of things that are limiting beliefs. And so what I want to get to you is to dump these limiting beliefs and set a mindset that's called a growth mindset, where you're believing in yourself, you're believing in your abilities, you're believing that you can do it, and we are here to help you to get there. And out of all of that, then you can formulate your own passion that actually allows you to get there, because the passion and the vision, remember in the pyramid we said we want to have the vision that you can then create above and beyond the economic independence. Hello and welcome again to the Ideal Wealth Grower YouTube channel. My name is Axel Meyer-Höfer and I'm going to be your host for this episode today. So what we're doing today is starting into a new series that talks about the mindset manual that you can find on our website and that you can get as a complimentary edition to download and use for your own development and improvement. And what we have found is that having the manual in and of itself is helpful, but what will really help you to actually take full advantage of it is to have a little bit of some instruction and some input of what do we actually mean with the different components you find in the manual. And so today is the first of a number of videos that I'm going to provide to you that will actually describe what the pieces in the manual are, why are we doing the different exercises, and encourage you to fill out the forms that you find in the manual, mainly so that you can actually really set your mind in the right way to be a successful passive income real estate investor like we suggest at Ideal Wealth Grower. So when you download the manual, the first thing you find out is that there's a little bit of an introduction that speaks about economic independence. And I just want to repeat this real quick and what we mean by that. For economic independence is basically the idea that at some point you will probably be interested to find a time in your life where you no longer have to say, how much work can I get? Whether it's a regular job from 9 to 5, or whether you have to have multiple gigs that you do, or have a side hustle, or whatever it may be, but something that takes your time and that you exchange to make money. So to get away from this exchange of time for money, because you can believe me and you can ask and read about it, most people over their lifetime will tell you that the most important commodity that they have, the thing that they most cherish, even though you might say right now I don't get it, but believe me, you will get there, where you find out the most important thing you have is time. And one of the things that we sometimes forget, and a friend of mine, Barry, just recently pointed this out to me and really made it very clear, is it's one thing when you say, okay, it's my time. I'm exchanging my time for the value that I provide to an employer. Or I'm exchanging my time for driving my car and driving Uber, and Uber pays me for the time that I invest. But don't forget, you're also exchanging other people's time. So your spouse, your girlfriend, your wife, your kids, your family members, all those people are losing time with you when you make the decision to exchange it for working in a job or for providing some service to somebody else. So time is really, really important. And what we want to actually help you is to get the mindset, as well as ultimately later on and in other videos that you can watch and our ebook and other content that we have, you can also learn about, besides exchanging time for money and having the right mindset to really make it a goal to get to economic independence, how do you get there? So this video series is mainly talking about, I want to get to economic independence, the point in time where I no longer have to exchange time for money. That means if you love your job, you love what you do, you're really passionate about it, you can still do it and you still get paid for it, but you don't have to. And the reason you don't have to is because you have passive income from your residential real estate investment. So how does the mindset manual help? A lot of people say, well, I'm afraid to invest, or the numbers are so huge that I need to get to ever have the ability to stop to work. It will never happen to me. Only rich people become investors, and all those kind of things that are limiting beliefs. And so what I want to get to you is to dump these limiting beliefs and set a mindset that's called a growth mindset, where you're believing in yourself, you're believing in your abilities, you're believing that you can do it, and we are here to help you to get there. And so on that journey to change your mindset into something positive and passionate and energetic and so forth, there are a few things, and to find out where you are right now and where you can go, that's where the mindset manual really helps you. So let's get started into when you download it and you open it up and you have read a little bit about economic independence, you get into part 1 of the mindset manual, and the first part is a little bit about terms, and you will see a pyramid in the manual itself. So it starts out at the lowest level about direction and mission. And what that really means, direction and mission, is where you want to go. What is the number that you want to identify yourself for your economic independence? If you live somewhere in the New York area, somewhere in California, or anywhere where it's really expensive to live, the number of passive income that you will need to reach is probably significantly higher than somebody who is living somewhere in a homestead, somewhere in Idaho or in rural Texas or places like that. So you might say, my direction and my mission is to reach this economic independence number, which is $10,000 or $15,000 a month, and somebody else might say it's $5,000 a month. So that's the first thing, kind of like the foundation. Where do I actually want to go? Now this next thing is, what's the strategy? Now the strategy that we are suggesting to follow, and that you find in all of our materials and posting, is called the out-of-state turnkey investor strategy. Now, out of state is applicable for everybody who lives in an expensive area. Some people might be lucky and live in an area or in a state where it's not that expensive. Then you still want to go the turnkey route, so you can actually generate passive income rather than having to work very hard for it yourself. Then the vision is, okay, not only do I want to reach this point of economic independence where I don't have to work anymore, but then the other question is, when I actually get there, what do I do afterwards? So you want to find out, what are you passionate about? What are really the things that you feel born to do, and you may not be able to do it right now, for example, because it doesn't pay very well. Let's say you love painting or you love arts and crafts and stuff like that, but they don't pay very well, especially if you're not very famous already. So that is something that you would have a vision about, to find a point in time in your life where you can do this most of the time and really enjoy yourself and not worry about whether it pays well or not. So then the goals that are associated with that are partially financial goals. Then there are goals that have to do with your mindset. Then there are goals that have to do with your passion, but they can also go beyond. So one of the things that we are actually looking at for the goals that go beyond would be something where you would be looking to say, how do I build a legacy? So like in my case, for example, I have accumulated a portfolio of properties, and the legacy is not only to keep growing that portfolio, to keep increasing the passive amount of money that comes in, but also to structure the portfolio in a way that my daughter and her kids and their kids in the future will always have this passive income and the security that they are not really forced to have to work. That doesn't mean that they have a free ride or anything like that. It just means I built them a foundation that lasts beyond me and beyond my family. So that's the first part. And so now the question is, after you watched that pyramid and reviewed it a little bit and answered those questions for yourself, the first thing that we want you to do is what's called the current direction exercise. And the questions that we ask is, what is your current direction of movement right now? Where are you moving towards right now? Are you getting on a career path? Are you trying to get a promotion? Are you trying to get a bigger house? Are you looking to downsize? Where are you going right now? And when and how did you choose that direction is the second question. And then the third question is, what is the current direction based on? What were your thoughts when you actually decided to live and work and have the direction that you have right now? And then we want to find out, in what kind of model from a mindset perspective are you living in right now? So what we want to evaluate is, are you potentially living in the what's called the survival or mediocrity model? And the questions that come with that are, where is the money that you make? What don't you mind doing? And what are you not really too bad at, or what are you great at? You want to write those things down. And these are questions that are not very often asked. That's the survival model. Now there's a second one that's called the greatness model. And the questions that come with that are, what am I passionate about? That doesn't necessarily mean it's what you do a lot of, but what are you really passionate about? If you had no limits, if money weren't an issue or any of the other things were no issue, just what are you passionate about? Then what do you feel you're born to do? That doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. And then what is your practical model is basically, what do you practically have to do right now to afford your life, to afford your car, to afford the place that you live, and so forth. So for these questions, there is a list of questions to identify. Here are the things that we want to kind of seek out from you to learn what are your passions. And that's what you fill into that form for the passions. And then the second set of questions goes around, what are you born to do? And you may not be very clear about either the passions or what you're born to do, but that's why we provide you the questions. And you just go down the list and answer the questions. And with that, you get more and more clarity of what it really is. Then you fill in a table that gives you a little bit of a summary of what were your answers to these questions. And what you ultimately want to find out between the things that you're passionate about and the things that you have identified that you're born to do, is there any overlap? Because that overlap area, that is really where you want to go, and we provide you, as soon as you identify that overlap, then we want to provide you with what's called the direction sentence exercise. That's an exercise that helps you to formulate, literally putting in words, a new sentence that you should be able to recite on a regular basis. And I always recommend recite it in the morning when you get up, recite it at least once during the day, maybe around lunchtime, and then recite it a few more times in the evening or before you go to bed. So if you do it 5 times a day for something like a month, you will, for one, get really, really familiar with this sentence. It will become more and more common to you. You don't need to really think about it. You don't need to have a little card any longer that tells you what that sentence is. And what it will also do is, when you meet people and they say, what are you up to? What is it really that you're interested in? And you know, where are you going? You can recite that sentence like that. Like within a second, it's always present, it's always there. So ultimately what we want to illustrate for you is that you identify your passions and your core competencies, what you're born to do, what you're really good at. And then the third component is what makes you particularly unique, right? You might be interested in painting. That's really something that you want to do. But what makes your painting style really particularly unique? And out of all of that, then you can formulate your own passion that actually allows you to get there, because the passion and the vision, remember in the pyramid we said we want to have the vision that you can then create above and beyond the economic independence. And then there are some more exercises that you can do to actually really describe in writing how a week in your life, with that vision in mind, with this exercise of reciting the sentence in mind, how would a week in the future really look like for you when you are actually living that life. And as you will see, as you go through this first part of the mindset manual, going through the exercises, answering the questions, drawing these images, and creating this sentence, you will get in a totally different, more energetic, more clear frame of mind. And that's the first thing, and that's why we call it the first part of the mindset manual, that will actually help you to get the push, the drive to really going after your goals. It's one thing to have kind of like an idea in your mind, but it's a totally different thing when you really put it in writing, you really answered the questions, you really drew the picture, you really thought about how does a week look like. So I hope this helps you to get a little more clarity about the first part of the mindset manual. In the next video, we're going to talk about part number 2. For now, I hope you really appreciate it and like this video. So go please hit the like button if you haven't done it already. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that yet. And then you know that little bell icon right next to it, so you get notified when we have more content, the following videos as well as other videos in the future. I would like to ask you as a great favor to share the content of this video and other videos in our series with your community, because the more people learn about it, the more people get in a positive mindset, the more people you can help together with us to reach this point of economic independence. And if you haven't done it yet, please go to our website at www.idealwealthgrower.com/free and get the mindset manual so you can follow along with the manual on your table and this video to how to do the exercises and what goes where and why. So with that being said, I look forward to see you again in the next video. Until then, bye now.